Hello investors, my name is Natalia and I'm a real estate attorney here in the state of Florida, and today I wanted to talk to you about wholesaling and homestead properties. And you're probably wondering, well, what does homestead law, homestead regulations have to do with wholesaling? But it's a huge deal, particularly if you go out there and seek out properties that where the owner has passed away. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what is homestead? What does it mean? What makes something homestead? Well, under Florida law, the Constitution of Florida decided that it was really important to protect property that is the primary residence of a person. But only certain types of properties that are primary residences qualify as homestead for purposes of the protection under the Florida Constitution. So if it is property within a municipality, that means it's on less than half an acre. It means that it must be owned by a natural person, and that natural person or their heirs at law, closely related family members must be using it as a primary residence, as a permanent primary residence. That's very important too, because it doesn't apply if, for example, they live half the year here, they live half the year in, let's say, Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania they have their own homestead. And in that case, it's not really considered a homestead for purposes of Florida constitutional protections. So, without further ado, I want to discuss why homestead and something being considered legally somebody's homestead in Florida can impact your wholesale transactions. And I'm going to cover three things. So first occasion, homestead if somebody is married. So let's say Johnny owns property. He is the sole title holder of this particular piece of property, but he is married. Johnny passes away. Johnny only has the ability to convey his property to his wife if he passes away, or if he passes away with lineal descendants, to his wife, and lineal descendants if they are minor children, they're lineal descendants. So let's say you meet up with his children, one of his adult children. Well, that one adult children can't sign the wholesaling contract with you because they're not the only person who has these vested legal rights in the property. And therefore, if you were to enter into a wholesale contract with that sole child of the prior owner, you're not really going to be able to close your deal. So it's important. In the same way, when it comes to spouses, if somebody says, well, yeah, like I own this property, I'm the sole title holder, but they're married, even if they are in an estranged marriage, if there has been no dissolution of marriage awarding the property to that particular person, guess what? You're still going to need that spouse's signature, that estranged spouse's signature, in order to really acquire the title that you can then convey out or assign to make that a valid assignable contract with a full interest conveyance. So it's important to realize that that is one of the limitations for homestead. So again, first one, spouses. The second one I want to talk about is heirs. So again, if somebody has passed away and they passed away and it was their primary residence, you're going to have to find all of the lawful heirs that would have been entitled to receive that property under the homestead rules. And so if you're dealing with only one of the adult children of the person that passed away, they're not going to be able to sign on an enforceable contract that's going to convey that fee simple full title to your end buyer. And that could create some serious problems for you as a wholesaler. If the person that you're talking to has minor children, it's even more difficult, because at that point, if somebody passed away, they had a spouse, they had minor children, that spouse and minor children have a very different kind of a relationship. So that spouse, that person that's living, only has a life estate in the asset, and the remainder is left to the minor children. Well, minor children can't sign enforceable contracts. That thing is not going to be able to be sold. So just please be super aware of the considerations there before signing on a deal with somebody who was whose spouse died and they have minor children and now is trying to convey the property. This is very different than if they owned title jointly with their prior spouse and then they inherited the title all to themselves. But if their spouse is the only one on title, you're going to have to deal with those issues and you're not going to be able to close on that transaction very easily. Number 3. So let's say you find a piece of real estate, fantastic, awesome. It was the person's primary residence, they died, and now you're dealing with a person that says, hey, I got a will from such and such person that left me the property. And so all you need to do is probate, and once title's passed to me, our contract's going to be fully enforceable. Well, that's not really the case because homestead property has restrictions on who can be receiving title by devise, meaning who can inherit homestead property. So it doesn't matter what it says in the will. If the will did a conveyance to somebody that is not in the foreseeable heirs at law entitled to receive homestead property, that clause is completely irrelevant, and you are going to have to deal with the actual true legal heirs entitled to those homestead devise clauses and restrictions if you want to actually seal the deal on that kind of property. So again, very important wholesalers, that if you are interested in acquiring property that is the homestead of a person, you have all these restrictions in place. It is very important to talk to a real estate attorney who's got knowledge on homestead protections and how they're impacted in the probate side of things, to understand whether this contract is worthwhile, whether this contract is even enforceable, and whether you want to deal with the headache of trying to fix and address all the potential issues so that you can have an enforceable contract that you can then assign over to an end buyer. So that's my little spiel for you there. That's my lesson for today. Good luck out there, investors.